Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews from different locations as we continue practicing our social distancing.
Yes.
JC, good morning, my man.
Good morning, QB. You know, this coronavirus social distancing thing, you seem to be adapting quite well since you are such a great social distancer. I'm very impressed with your outlook on things. You really are battling through it and just doing great. I'm telling you, probably in the best mood of anybody I've talked to on the phone here in the last week.
Well, here's the thing, JC.
What is
we can only control what we can control. There ain't a damn thing I can do about it.
Well,
right?
Well, no, absolutely. Listen, I get it, but I like your sunny perspective on things right now. You know, I heard that Alachua County, I'm in St. Johns County right now. I heard that Alachua County is being shuttered for a while. Is that right? You know this?
Well, basically, I think all businesses are closed unless you're like a restaurant for takeout or, you know, I forgot how they phrase it, but, you know, you can't load up and go to some store and just go shopping. It has to be a grocery store.
But isn't didn't Alachua County basically say they want everybody to stay in their homes, except for grocery stores and essential trips?
Yeah, but like I think Home Depot's still open, so if you want to go get do it at home project, you can go do that.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't want people roaming the streets, I guess.
Yeah. Well, here in St. Johns County, it's very quiet, as you can imagine as well. Nothing's on the shelves at stores either. The beaches are open, but there's nobody out there. So, you know, you take your dog out there for a walk, you run around, you come back up, you turn the TV on, you watch TV, you go see a friend across the way, and that's pretty much what life is right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot going on. I did the you should be impressed, JC. I did the Gator football workout yesterday with my son here at the house.
Yeah.
I'm a little sore this morning, probably be more sore tomorrow, but I got through it. So maybe I'll make a comeback at almost age 50.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they'd love that. What differentiates the Gator workout from a typical workout? What is the Gator workout?
Well, no, it's what was sent to them from the Gator strength staff. They have a workout every day that is sent to them.
Oh, wow. And you participated in that at 50 years old. Dear God.
Well, I'm not 50 yet.
Well, okay, you got a few months still. You're right. I won't tell everybody your birthday. Don't worry. So what do we got on the show? Who's coming on today?
Well, we got Brady Ackerman, former Gator football player, but I think he's better known as the Gator sideline reporter. Back up to you, Mick. That's what Brady used to say. Back up to you, Mick.
Yeah. He had the pleasurable experience, and I'll ask him about this, of going into the locker room to talk to Jim McElwain and Will Muschamp, I would guess, after some really hard-fought losses.
Yeah. Yeah, so Brady's coaching college football at Jackson State University. We'll talk to him and see, you know, what it's like for a college football coach going through this coronavirus. Also, you know, if you want to send us a text, now we have it hooked up since this is day 2 of us not being in studio. We got it hooked up now where I can check out your text if you want to send it on the Titan MRI text line. It's 352-353-7465. Also, you can chime in via Facebook Live with any comments. But no, other than that, I mean, we're just plugging away. It looks like this is going to be around for a while. And we're going to be here doing our show, hopefully entertaining folks. You're in the entertainment business now, JC.
Well, yeah, great. But, you know, the entertainment business, if you can't look at who's entertaining you, you better be interested at least in some of what they're telling you. I think, you know, some of the things that I've kind of thought about as I ponder life here at the edge of Florida, I thought of some of the football games from last year, QB, some of the 2019 memories that I have during the football season. I want to see if you can recall some of these games that I wrote down. I went ahead and wrote them down, QB.
Man, that's impressive.
Yeah, so one of the first games that I'll never forget was, and this involves the current Mississippi State head coach at Washington State, Mike Leach, who was coaching at Washington State. And they were playing UCLA, and they were ahead 32 points in the third quarter. And you know what happened?
They lost.
they lost. And that was where I guess Chip Kelly got his biggest win as a coach for the UCLA Bruins, if you can call it that. But when you're down 32 points in the third quarter, I would think, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't the mood on the bench be one of surrender? Or have you ever been down 32 points, QB?
Not that I can think of, but here's the thing. You don't just give up. You just keep playing. Athletes have a hard time giving up. And, as long as there's time left on the clock, you keep playing hard. And it's kind of hard to believe that you can blow a 32-point lead late in the third quarter, but it happened. At home.
Maybe it's because of the way Washington State runs their offense. They just throw it everywhere, although some of their throwing plays could be considered almost running plays. But at any rate, I remember that game. And then here's another game that ended dramatically that I recall. And I looked up to see exactly what had happened. But remember that game Tulane played Houston, and they were playing in New Orleans. And I think Tulane was down something like 3 touchdowns. It was on TV, and I turned it off. And then I remember looking at the ticker on the bottom of the screen, and I think Tulane scored with like a second left on some ridiculous play that went 80 yards or something, and they won the game. Do you remember that?
I do remember that game. It was one of those, I want to say it was like a Thursday or a Friday night game.
Yeah.
And I want to say the way Tulane won the game, they shouldn't have had an opportunity to even have a chance to win it. There was some bad clock management, if I remember correctly, from Houston there late in the game. But, yeah, that was a phenomenal game. And they won on like a tip pass over the middle that could have been intercepted, but the Tulane receiver comes up with it and runs it in for a touchdown. But that was a good one for sure.
I think the play before that had something to do with a penalty. And so because it was
the Tulane receiver comes up with it and runs it in for a touchdown. Yeah. That was a good one for sure.
I think the play before that had something to do with a penalty. We got a little feedback going here.
Yeah, we got technical difficulties. It's all good.
But I think there was a penalty before that last play that gave Tulane an extra play because the game can't end on a defensive penalty. And but at any rate, I remember Tulane. And then, of course, there was a game that wasn't as maybe dramatic, but was somewhat of a surprise out in the Pac-12. And I'm trying to keep this in a chronological order of sorts. But I remember when Utah, the Utah Utes, everybody's greatest Pac-12 team to ever play, went into Southern Cal, and I think Southern Cal had a third-string quarterback. And I think the guy's name was Matt Fink. I looked it up. And he threw for 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. And, here's Utah playing man coverage, and you had no chance covering those guys man-to-man.
And yeah, that was another Thursday night game that, Utah had a very good team. But as you mentioned, as a backup quarterback for USC, came in and threw it all over the ballpark.
Lit it up. I mean, it was a third stringer. So that would have been like, let's see, if Florida had that. Franks, Trask, that would have been like Emory throwing for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. And then that weekend we had that Georgia-Notre Dame game where they had the most amazing thing about that to me was the light show. The game was kind of, I don't know, but I remember the light show at night. Everybody was all freaked out about the amazing technological advances that the University of Georgia gave us through a light show for that night game. Then I fast forwarded down the road to week 5. I think it was Clemson played North Carolina. I was at a Real Men Wear Pink fundraiser at the country club, and Clemson was playing UNC. And so we were sitting there at the table waiting for things to get started. So we're just talking. So I just got on the phone and started watching football games, right? And Carolina scored. I'm thinking Clemson's going down today. Minute and a half left, they go for 2 and they miss it, and then Clemson goes. They ran like a triple option for a 2-point conversion play, and lost to Clemson by a point. You remember that game?
I do remember that. Even if they would have gotten that, there was still a lot of time left in that game that Clemson could have gone down and kicked a field goal possibly. But yeah, it was a game that I think surprised a lot of people.
Then we had a week or so later, Tennessee played at Alabama, and Tennessee, who's lost, I think, 14 straight years or something like some ridiculous number, really played them tough. Alabama was kind of off that night, I guess you could say. Their defense wasn't playing well, and Tennessee played with them for the entire night. And that was the first time Tua, the Alabama quarterback, started to show signs of his fragility, and he got hurt in that game. And I thought to myself, okay, here we go again with this guy and his injuries. And of course, you know what happens down the road. But Tennessee played tough with them. In week 6, I went to my first Gator game, saw Auburn come into town. You'll recall this game, QB, where the Gators pretty much had things go their way for most of the day against Auburn. Auburn played them tough, but Florida really managed that game well. But I remember in that game a lot of turnovers. Did Auburn have a lot of turnovers, or did Florida have a lot? Did they both have a lot?
We both teams turned it over. You know, Trask turned the ball over quite a bit, just sitting in the pocket, just some carelessness, holding the ball too long.
Yeah, threw a pick in the end zone. Didn't he throw? Or did Auburn throw a pick? Auburn threw a pick.
Well, both teams turned it over quite a bit.
Yeah. But Florida came out ahead, and that set up the Georgia game. I think a week later, speaking of Georgia, they were playing a home game against South Carolina, and you want to talk about turnovers? I think that's all they did, and South Carolina scored points on turnovers. You remember that?
Yes, I do. I do remember that. That was a huge win for the Gamies.
Well, Gamecocks couldn't kick a field goal. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone to 2 overtimes. I know they had a field day. First of all, their quarterback, South Carolina's quarterback, couldn't walk. Basically, that guy was the walking wounded, right? And somehow they hung in there defensively against Georgia. And Fromm was ineffective, threw some picks. They got returned to the house. And then South Carolina's field goal kicker, I think, at regulation, missed a relatively short field goal. And then they had to win it in overtime. I think they won it in 2 overtimes to beat Georgia that day. But it still set up the Florida game for the winner-take-all scenario, because that was only one loss for Georgia in the SEC. And then, of course, we got to that Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's the one game we wish we could turn over. Real quick, JC, if you want to send us a Facebook Live comment on the Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. We got one here from Wayne, and we're kind of switching gears to the NFL. He says, since Tom Brady is going to Tampa Bay, who else is trying to go to Tampa, and will they make the playoffs? I don't know exactly who else Tampa has signed at this point, but I do know that I did hear that a lot of free agents are wanting to go play in Tampa now.
Yeah. I don't think that's a great question. Thank you to Wayne for that. Well, today at noon, they introduced Tom Brady as the quarterback officially. So you can throw on your ESPN News today and watch Tom Brady be introduced as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback.
Is there going to be any media there?
I guess not. Just probably people to set up cameras. Although I could be wrong about that too. I don't really know what people are planning on doing with that, but I do know that today is when he's going to go on and be introduced at noon. And I'm curious what kind of deal they've worked out with him, or what kind of deal they're going to work out with him if they haven't signed it up yet for money. And I don't know really who.
I heard he got a 2-year, $50 million deal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that could be. And I don't know why I haven't found that or seen that yet, but that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look, he's at the end, and it's really amazing some of these contracts that these retirees are getting, these retired quarterbacks are getting, soon to be
retired.
No, I misspoke. The soon to be retired quarterbacks. Drew Brees getting what he's going to get. Tom Brady's going to get what he's going to get. Philip Rivers got $25 million from the Colts for 1 year. I mean, so Philip Rivers is at the tail end of his career, right? So I think it's kind of amazing how these guys who are basically at the end of the road, almost. I mean, they got a little left in them, a little left in the tank, but they're signing the biggest contracts of their for a year anyway. I find that interesting.
Yep. Well, we're going to take our first time out of the program here. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gator's Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews on I think it's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday, JC?
It is. It's kind of hard to keep up the days, right?
Yeah, it really is. JC, I had some people wanting to know, a lot of your loyal listeners, does JC sport the Speedo over there at the beach?
Oh, my God. They would throw me in jail if I did that. For indecent exposure, that's for sure. No, I'm old school. I got the long baggy ass,
Billabongs on.
Whatever they are. I'm a big flip flop guy too. I've got about 7 pairs of those.
All right, we just wanted to make sure you weren't rolling around St. Augustine in your Speedo.
No, can't say that. Not that age anymore. QB, I was mentioning these contracts that these quarterbacks have, and some of the largest contracts given to quarterbacks in the history of free agency. I found this on a stat line. 3 have an average annual value that have been given out this season that are just unbelievable. So Kirk Cousins, he had a 2018 contract, and he's with the Vikings, free agent, $28 million. Drew Brees and Philip Rivers are going to get $25 million. Drew Brees got $25 million in 2018 as well. Nick Foles in 2019 had $22 million contract signed by Jacksonville. And then Teddy Bridgewater, if you can believe this, Carolina, $21 million. So cashing in before retirement. I don't know how far Teddy Bridgewater is. But what do you think is going to happen to Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, maybe Jadeveon Clowney? I mean, these guys are still out there.
Well, Clowney's going to sign with somebody for sure. I'm not sure where Cam Newton's going to land. Jameis, I think he's still young. He's not really beat up. I think he'll find a spot. I did see where 2 of those XFL quarterbacks signed contracts, JC. Tamu, who played at Ole Miss, who was the St. Louis Battlehawk quarterback, he signed with the Chiefs, which I think that's a pretty good fit for him with his skill set. And then gosh, I just forgot. Oh, the kid, I think it's PJ Tucker from the Houston Roughnecks. Right. He played for Matt Rule at Temple, and the Panthers signed him. So it's interesting that 2 of those quarterbacks have already signed, and we'll see if they make the roster or not. Also, don't forget at 8:30 we're going to have Brady Ackerman, former Gator sideline reporter, join us, talk about what he's doing these days. We want to get to our play of the day, JC.
Oh, I love this
Our
one.
play of the day is brought to you by Area Rug Masters. Receive a BOGO rug cleaning when you mention the code Shane or JC. Call them at 352-448-5999. That's Area Rug Masters. And our play of the day happened on this date. I think it was 18 years ago. Randy Johnson throws a pitch, and I believe a seagull flies right into his throwing lane and just shatters the bird.
It was 2001, QB. And you know who was here's some trivia for you. I doubt if you'll know this, but I heard it on the radio. Who was at bat? You know who was at bat? He's a famous quarterback's father.
Famous quarterback's dad.
And I'll tell you, it was not Pat Mahomes' dad.
Well, no, he's a pitcher. He's not going to be batting in the American League.
Okay.
A famous quarterback's dad?
Well, I think Randy Johnson was pitching for was Seattle or San Diego at that time? Because if it was San Diego, it could have been a dad's pitcher hitting.
Yeah. But, okay. Well, I give up. I don't want to waste time on the show trying to think.
No, it's fine. Kyler Murray's dad was at the plate. And actually, it was his uncle. I beg your pardon. It was his uncle. And he was, of course, the quarterback in Oklahoma who won the Heisman Trophy, went to Arizona. So his uncle gets that pleasure of seeing a bird explode in front of a 92-mile-an-hour heater, or probably more, coming at him. And then Randy Johnson, of course, being the pitcher. So that's quite a play. It was on this date in history. Yeah.
Yeah. We got another. John says on Facebook Live, which is brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorney. His comment is the Bucs should have gone with Teddy Bridgewater instead of Tom Brady. I
don't know, because I think in this day and age of win today kind of thing, we don't want to wait around. Is Teddy Bridgewater the guy that's going to win you a Super Bowl? Maybe, but I know Tom Brady can. So Tampa Bay went with what is certain. And with those receivers they have, and I don't know if they've signed Brashard Perryman yet, but with those guys they have, and that offensive line, which will get better, I think Tampa did the right thing. But I respect the take. Teddy does give you a few more years, but Tampa wants to win now. I think they feel like with that defense, that's a team that can compete, win that division, get a couple home games in the playoffs, and who knows, right? Guess where the Super Bowl is next year, QB?
It's in Tampa.
Exactly. So why wouldn't you give yourself the best chance to do it? Now, his point is, well, Teddy gives you a better chance than Tom Brady. And, that's arguable, I guess.
Yeah, we will see. You know what's interesting is, and you've been following the NFL free agency a little bit more than I have, JC, but It seems like the Dolphins have made some good moves. Obviously, Tampa has. Have the Jaguars done anything?
I haven't. They got rid of Nick Foles. And
I did see that, but I'm saying, have they done anything to help their team?
Right. No, I think the only thing you can say is that they've just basically decided that Gardner Minshew is their quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with that edge rusher, Ngakoue. I don't know at all what they're planning on doing offensively to help Gardner Minshew. And this is just typical Jacksonville. Their off-season moves or lack of moves have just amazed me over the last 2 decades. But back to Perryman for a minute, he's not signed with Tampa, but he had career highs in receptions, yards, and touchdowns last year. So, Robbie Anderson's out there as a wide receiver. I don't know if Tampa picks up another guy to work with Brady, but they have some real good ones right now currently with Evans and Godwin. I think it's going to be real fun to watch the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know the tickets are going to be a little bit more expensive than they were the last couple of years.
Yeah, you're on Facebook Live, brought to you by Pound Hurt. Your buddy Butterball says Tampa Bay's going 4-12. He obviously doesn't care too much for Tom Brady.
No.
But anyway, we also want to give a shout out to a lot of our local sponsors, JC, especially Gator's Dockside, Miapa, and Gator BTW for serving a ton of food to some kids and families yesterday.
Yeah.
Good work for them.
And how about Campus USA Credit Union stepping up? Another one of our great sponsors, Campus USA Credit Union, stepping up with up to almost $50,000 to help out the funding for this, so that these kids can eat.
Absolutely. It's crazy times.
This is what you look for, QB. You look for things like this to happen in times of adversity. Who can step up? Who's going to bail and hide? And I know that we're very proud to have guys who are and companies sponsoring our show that are stepping up in this time of need and this time of difficulty. So really, thank you to all of those folks who are doing all they can. What do you think?
One thing that hopefully something good that can come out of this is whoever's in charge of teachers' salaries here in the state of Florida, maybe around the country, that they can realize that how difficult it is to be a teacher, because I can't tell you how many moms that I've talked to, now they're having to be at home with their kids and do this online stuff and try to get them to sit down and do their work. Hats off. My mom was a teacher for many, many years, so I know how difficult it is, and obviously they don't get paid nearly enough.
Well, I guess that would be either the school board or the county, each particular county maybe, and their school boards would have something to do with that. I think it's going to be a time for us to reflect and think about a lot of things. And certainly if you are with children and they are in school and you are dealing with trying to support them financially as well as academically at home, you are in a lot of stress right now. We need these things to in Washington, D.C. to get worked out so that we can get the help that's certainly needed to come for everybody. Not, and I agree with you on the teacher sentiment, certainly.
So, JC, while you're at the beach, are you playing any paddle ball, bocce ball, tennis, or anything?
We're going to, a friend of ours, yours and mine, who is also here in the same complex, we'll probably go hit the golf ball out there over at Marsh Creek or at the Muni, whichever one is open, and maybe do some of that. There's going to be some, walking the dog is a big deal here. Everybody's walking dogs, so.
Be careful with your dog. You don't get too close to the ocean.
Think a killer whale come up there and swallow.
Yes, that dog. Be careful of those seagulls that come down there and get that dog.
A 12-pound dog, huh? I guess she's chasing the seagulls. They don't want any part of that dog.
Well, good thing there's not a whole lot of hawks around.
No, QB. Wildlife with QB right now at the beach. But thank you for those heads up. I'll make sure we are in a hawk-free zone or something.
So back to the I kind of interrupted you with your NFL free agency talk.
Well, we had a big retirement today too. Travis Frederick, who is the Dallas Cowboys All-Pro center, 5-time All-Pro, 2016 All-Pro, certainly a guy that, at the age of 29, offensive lineman, he's had to retire. He missed not last year, but the year before last season, dealing with an autoimmune disease. And so he's decided at the age of 29 to hang him up, and Dallas will certainly miss him. And that was one great offensive line they had. But even with that, they only won one playoff game, I think, since Dak took over in 2016. So they beat the Lions at home in a game that the Lions probably felt they should have won. And then they lost to the Rams the following week. And this was in 17 or 18, whatever. But Travis Frederick, a great player, he's going to retire now. And again, I think the questions are still to be answered with some of the higher rated free agents that are out there. And I mentioned Brashard Perryman, Robbie Anderson, the two highest rated wide receivers that are free agents. Of course, the highest rated quarterback, I guess you could say, is Jameis Winston. A lot of downfield explosiveness, but the turnover rate is so out of sync in today's league that I don't know. It's something that's been like 31 years since a quarterback threw as many as 30 interceptions and 6 or 7 of them going back to the house for touchdowns. So that's got to be figured out. Clowney, I guess the edge rusher, is the number one free agent out there. Marcus Golden's a great linebacker. He played for the Giants. He's pretty good. Von Bell, the Saints, safety, pretty good. Jason Peters, offensive tackle for the Eagles. Ndamukong Suh, older guy, age 33, but still can clog up the holes in the defensive line. Eric Reed, a good safety. So there's a lot of great players still out there to sign. Clay Matthews, linebacker, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I saw a tweet on Twitter that I wanted to read on the show. And I know you follow Clay Travis.
I love Clay. Yeah,
here's what he said. He goes, "I beat my 9-year-old in cornhole last night." But he said I had to tweet that he beat me 48-21 in Madden tonight. He also called timeout with 1 second left to score the last touchdown. He goes, Felt like I was playing against Steve Spurrier back in 1995. No mercy.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah, poor Tennessee. Yeah, Spurrier. No, good for Clay Travis. I mean, this is time you spend time with your kids. What else are you going to do? And it's certainly great. QB, I got to look up. And today was a day for Jackie Spreads. You know, it's a Tuesday, Thursday thing. And Jackie Spreads brought to you by Peachland Dental, the Gator Nation's #1 dentist in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. And he's not on today, obviously. But remember when we talked about the Pakistan Super League 2020 semifinals in cricket? And we took the Multan Sultans and the Karachi Kings. So I'll have an update for you tomorrow on how that went.
All right. Well, also, if you want to send us a text on the Titan MR text line, it's 352-353-7465. You're going to have an update. That'll be great.
I will try to find out for you, QB. I know you've been worried about the Sultans and the Kings, so I'll get it for you.
Of course I have. Let's take our last time out here. We'll get Brady Ackerman on the Titan MR hotline. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Time out! Time out!
Except we're not in the studios, QB.
It doesn't matter. We're still.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gator's Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, and Style Cuts.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
3.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hey, folks, Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Skechers, Starbucks, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, Select Shades, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. John Cornell, Shane Matthews here. We're getting ready to celebrate with the guy who did a lot of celebrating on campus back in the day, Brady Ackerman. Brady, welcome to the show. How are you, my man?
I'm blessed. Glad to be on with you guys, not only on campus, but on the sideline as a sideline reporter. I got a little excited when Antonio Callaway made some big plays, so it's good to be on with you guys.
Yeah, Brady, a lot of people, I can't tell you how many people doing my shows with Steve Russell during the fall, and then me and JC, I get all these texts. What's Brady up to these days? Let everybody know. Obviously, we know you did a lot of TV broadcasting. You were the sideline reporter for Gator Radio Network for a long time. Let everybody know what you're doing these days.
Well, a few years back, I returned to coaching here at Jackson State University. It's a historically black college that has 4 NFL Hall of Famers, including Walter Payton, that came here to work for Hal Mumme, who's now, in the XFL with Dallas and Stoops and those guys. But came here, worked for him as the inside receivers coach, then our staff got fired, and the guy that hired kept me on as the receiver coach last year, and now they've made me the running back coach and recruiting coordinator. So it's just like radio. Just like radio, you gotta be flexible and on your feet. And I've been able to bring a few Florida kids up here, so I'm excited about that. But let me just say this about Jackson State. And this would be a good research assignment for John Cornell as he's social distancing. We led the FCS in attendance at 34,000 fans a game. So see where that would line up in Division One, because I guarantee it's more than Vandy.
Wow, that I had no idea. You play at in Veterans Memorial Stadium, Brady?
Yeah. I would play in the Vet. Did Shane, you ever take a snap in the Vet?
I never took a snap there, but I went to many, many games. I was at the Ole Miss Mississippi State game because that's where they used to play that game every year. Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard, Brady, now that you've been living in Mississippi for 2 or 3 years now. There was a big win by Ole Miss on a field goal that Mississippi State kicked, and the wind blew it. It went over the upright, and the wind blew it back. I'll never forget the bumper sticker that I used to have sitting in my room. It said, "Go Rebs, go, blow, wind, blow." And
I have heard that story after watching the 30 for 30 or whatever they had on the SEC network on it. John Bond was the quarterback of that Mississippi State team, and he was telling me how scared his offensive linemen were in the huddle because sirens were going off like the tornadoes coming. He said the guys were scared because we were lucky to finish the drive, but that was pretty amazing. But yeah, we have a big fan base. What I will say, and you'll appreciate this, because I've sat next to you guys both doing radio, and guys have been at Florida, haven't won, and you say they got to be on the hot seat. They got to Muschamps got to win this year, and McElwain's got to turn this around. But if we don't win this year, boys, I'm gonna be on the unemployment line. So we got to win, man. These people want to win, and Jackson State is the equivalent of a Florida or Alabama at our level and in our league.
Yeah, no question. Brady, I was always impressed with how you were able to keep your composure and ask real fluid questions to the coaches as they walked off the field before the half, or right at the half. And then, of course, your ability to go into the locker room after a tough loss or even after a huge win and keep people's attention. What was tougher for you, trying to maneuver through those types of challenges or playing football?
No, I think those are much tougher, because football's kind of what I did my whole life. And I think when you talk about interviewing and those situations, having been a player, the last thing matter of fact, I was a coach and a player, last thing you want is a microphone in your face when you're disappointed. And the last thing you want to do is, and I appreciated some guys like Ahmad Black and John Bostic, Marquise Pouncey, guys who were stand-up guys. They didn't lose many games, those guys, but they would stand up and talk when games were tough. And so that made my job easier. But it was a learning experience. The 8 years on the sideline with the Gators, and those losses hurt me just as much as it hurt them. Shane knows that. I know we're supposed to not be fans, but I played at Florida, and while I didn't play to the extent that Shane did, I certainly care about it probably just as much. So it was tough when we lost games, and I got a couple of good stories once in a while we can share, but some guys weren't very nice, some guys were, but at the end of the day, I think they respected the fact that I had played there, and I think that helped my relationship with the job.
Well, Coach, speaking as terms of talking to the coach, Will was very animated, McElwain maybe not nearly as much, but who did you enjoy dealing with more when you were interviewing?
Well, definitely Muschamp. Now, I had Urban for a year, but was that transition after he had retired, so it was a little bit different. He took him all the way to before the bowl game, before he warmed up to me. Muschamp and I coached together, so right away we had a great relationship. And we had some great conversations off the air. And then McElwain, I actually got to like McElwain. It took me almost the entire first season to get him to trust me. I think he wasn't sure. I think he came in not knowing if he could trust certain people. But after the first year, he trusted me, and he shared a lot of good things with me, and we had good conversations. And I hated for the way that went down with him. But what I noticed in being at Florida is the guys that didn't have success, even going back to Coach Zook when I was very close to him as the head coach, the guys that don't have success in Florida are the guys that worry about outside things they can't control. And the guys, and I know Dan Mullen's a great coach and a great play caller. I know Urban's a Hall of Famer and Spurrier's a Hall of Famer, but those guys have a lot in common in that they never worried about what other people were saying. They never worried about what they didn't have. They always said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go win. You know, Spurrier never cared if he had a number one recruiting class. Urban was going to outwork everybody. He never cared that people thought he was pushing the envelope in recruiting when he came along. And I think, you know, Dan is not worried about facilities. He wants facilities. I'm not saying he doesn't see it, but he's not going to sit there and complain about it because he knew it was going to get done when he got hired. So he focused on winning. And so I think all three of those guys share some traits. Now, I'm not ready to put Coach Mullen right there with Spurrier and Urban yet because he's got to win a title, but I think he's trending in the right direction.
We're speaking with Brady Ackerman. You can follow him at Brady Ack on Twitter. He's now running backs coach at Jackson State University, also the recruiting coordinator, and my former partner at the award-winning show Ackerman and Matthews.
What award did we get?
I'm not sure what the award. It's still in the mail. Whatever award we won.
John Cornell would be the first one to show up at a remote, though.
Yes, he would.
Baby, I loved y'all.
Brady,
especially at the restaurants after, you know, at lunchtime. That was the right time to have it.
Brady, talk a little bit about now that you're back into coaching. You know, obviously you're running the air raid, I believe, over there, which is, you know, how Mummy might Leach's system. Have you taken anything from your days of playing for Spurrier and being a coach under Spurrier? Do you use any of that while you're coaching these kids at Jackson State?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, and again, we ran the air raid the first year. We're back to running what everybody else runs now, Shane. RPOs, you know, reading the second and third level and doing those types of things. But the, you know, everybody wants to play fast, but they don't want to take time to coach it up. I'm an air raid guy 100%. And if I could ever get back into that system 100%, I believe in it. And I think it's going to do great things at Mississippi State, just like it has in other places with Leach there. But, you know, for me, what I've learned getting back into the game, and again, I've got a little shorter runway than, you know, maybe Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach. You know, I'm a lot older, you know, so I don't have a lot of time to get to where I want to get to. But what I've learned is that in being back in your coaching is about trust. If the player trusts you, he's going to give you everything he's got. If he doesn't trust you and he doesn't think that you care about him, then you got no chance. So I think that has served me well. I think the players trust me. I think I have fit in well. I'm in a different situation coaching-wise than a lot of guys. I mean, I'm the minority on our staff, you know, and so it's a little bit different environment, but the coaching aspect, whether you're coaching at Gainesville High School, whether you're coaching at Forest High School, whether you're coaching at Florida, or whether you coach at Jackson State, to me, it's all the same. I mean, if you can coach, you can coach. And I've learned a lot. I'm not going to say I haven't learned a lot because I have. But I think the one thing about Coach Spurrier that I'll always remember, he's the greatest coach of all time. But he always the confidence about things. And I think that, to me, is what stayed with me, is just be confident in what you're doing. And if you're confident, then the kids will be confident in what you're selling.
Brady, we got a text real quick, JC. We got a text on the Titan MRI text line here for you. George wants to know, can you tell us a funny Spurrier story real quick?
You haven't used them all up? I'm not going to tell the Cornell story. I'm sure not going to tell the Cornell story. Shoot, you guys have used them all up, I'm sure, right, Shane? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Well, shoot, I can't think. You caught me off guard on that one, guy. I got to think about it. You know,
talk about your wheel route.
Well, you know, when we played Akron, the first time I ever went into a game, Spurrier had this long verbiage, which Shane doesn't think it's long, JC. But in this day and age, we'd never use that kind of verbiage, you know. Right, but he gives me the play, right? And he says he's putting me in. Brian Fox is the quarterback. Okay, Shane's already got the visor on or whatever on the sideline, Johnny. And so he goes, okay, right over past 14, Ralph, X drag, something like this. And he pushes me in the back and he sends me out there. And as I get there, Fox goes, "What's the play?" I said, "I forgot it." And he looks over. So Fox has to yell at him. He had to signal the play in. So then he always had this thing of like he would push you into the game late in the game, like he put his hand on his back. So then we're playing Kentucky, and my shoe had blown, or Huey Richardson lost a shoe at the beginning of the game, and his shoe looked like a clown's mouth, so his toe was coming out the front of it. So he goes, "I need a size 12. I need a size 12." So I threw him my shoe. Back then, we didn't have the shoe situation that they have now. Remember Shane? I think Shane painted those shoes. So I had the shoe on, and we finally blown Kentucky out. We're winning the SEC. Carl Franks looks at Spurs, says, "Let's put Brady in." Okay, Brady, you ready? And he pushed me on the back. Go on in there, and I tripped. Going out there, no. He grabbed my back. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's back over here. And then he put me in the next play, and he gave me 38 cutback handoff, and Kyle Morris was the quarterback. Dan Crouch was the center. I ran out there 38. The play that Eric Rett used to run, it'd be a sweep to the right, cut back to the left, or whatever it was. Shane knows what it is. I had no idea. I'd never run that on scout team. I didn't know what I was doing. I got out there. I go, Junior, what do I do? I didn't know what to do. I'd never run it. I just ran lead draw. I was a draw guy.
Yeah,
that's right. And you caught a wheel route against Ackerman.
Yeah, I kind of got off the wheel route story because it wasn't as fun, except the day after the wheel route, if you could find this in the archives, back when Cornell was like doing the news, he was the news anchor, the legend of John Cornell. Yeah. I caught a wheel route, and I went into the end zone, and I kind of held my hands up, and some girl was cheering, and Coach says to Mick on the little TV show, he goes, maybe that's Brady's girlfriend. I mean, she was like 35 at the time. That's feathered in the middle. I'm thinking, come on, Coach, give me more credit than that. No disrespect to the lady. She was a nice-looking older lady, but I was 21. Come on.
Well, I'm sure that girl was also probably excited about that uniform when it comes up over your midsection there, Brady. Those little cut-off type uniforms Brady was sporting back then, man.
That's what we had back then. You had to show your abs if you were going to be the guy in the 90s.
Yeah. So, Brady, tell me a little bit about – I'm just curious. I want to know more about this Jackson State gig and what it's like coaching there. You said coaching's all the same regardless of where you go and so forth. You're in the minority as a coach there, but as a coach there, what is it? You said 34,000 people show up at a game. So
right.
Is the
more than that.
And then the bands, they really do a lot with the way they perform at halftime and before the game and everything. What would you like? Can you compare it to anything that Gator fans can relate to?
No, I can't. It's different. We get 50 or 60,000 fans when we play Grambling or Alcorn, and it's just I'll say it's similar in the tailgating outside the game when we play an Alcorn or Southern. It is for like going to a Florida-Georgia game when you come up and you see the RVs and everything. And these people want to win. That's where it's similar to Florida. That's where it's similar to Alabama. This is my third year here. Like I said, if we don't win this year, there's going to be changes. They just don't have the patience. Of maybe some other schools at this level would have. I mean, this head coach is in his second year, and if we don't win, we know you got to win. So, but that makes it fun. I mean, I would much rather coach at a place where people care. And the fans are terrific. I've been treated great here. The athletic director had me on the Presidential Strategic Planning Committee last year, to help them talk about fundraising in the future. And I guess he had read my resume before outside of coaching, so he knew I had to go out and raise a little money. But, it's been a great experience. I'm hoping we have a big year this year. We have Jalen Jones, our quarterback, coming back, who was at Florida. He struggled early as a freshman. He had to deal with a lot of things, so we didn't play him as much. But as we got going, and Shane will pull his hair out over this one, we lost 3 games with him at quarterback. He didn't win a game. In all 3 games, we had over 500 yards of total offense. So we got a chance. We got a chance to do some things on offense with him coming back. And then, of course, my running back out of Ocala, Florida, in Vanguard is a steal. I know Shane held him to 43 yards at GHS, but he's definitely a Power 5 running back in Kemo Clark out of Vanguard that I brought up here. He broke Walter Payton's freshman rushing record last year, it's single game record. So, if I could just get him to let me get a couple more Florida kids up here, we might get that record turned around. So we got a chance to be pretty good, but we'll see how it plays. We do have to go to Hattiesburg and play Southern Miss. We always play a big game like that, and then.
Is Grambling your big rival? Who is your big rival?
Our big rivals, Alcorn and Southern. Southern travels about as well as we do. Southern's in Baton Rouge, great campus. 2 years ago, we played down at Southern, and our coach got fired after the game. Tony Hughes, who's now the safeties coach at Mississippi State. Great guy, great coach. Worked for Dan Mullen forever. Just didn't get a fair shot, in my opinion, but a super dude, really good dude. And I think Dan Mullen thinks the world of him. Matter of fact, I know he tried to hire him. And he got fired after the game, but before the game, they have this thing called the fifth quarter, JC.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, you were a world traveler there for 3 or 4 years. I don't know if your money dried up or if Alabama losing. I don't know what happened to him, Shane, but you need to go to a Jackson State Southern game, okay? You got you asked about the bands. They got the boom box. We got the sonic boom of the South. And I'm telling you, the thing about the bands are you got 30,000 fans there, JC. In a Gator game, you can't really hear their band as good because it kind of gets drowned out. That's why you always remember Rocky Top. But in a 30,000 seat stadium, these bands are on top of you. It's like listening to it on a car radio.
Oh, that would be fascinating. I'm doing it. I'm going to come to a Jackson State game. I need some gear. Get me set up with some gear, Brady, and let's roll with
JC, you be careful when you go now. I never told Brady this story. When I was a young kid, my dad and I were the only people, the only white people, I think, in the entire stadium when Mississippi Valley with Jerry Rice and Willie Totten played Isaac Holt and Alcorn State there in Jackson. Wow. It was packed. There was nowhere to sit. It was amazing. And it's a different atmosphere. It's very, very entertaining. No question about it with the bands and stuff. Yeah. Brady, before we let you go, living there in the state of Mississippi, obviously the SEC's made some big moves. Mike Leach at Mississippi State now, and Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. You're learning a little bit about the Ole Miss Mississippi State hatred in that state. How is it? I mean, with those two guys coming into the conference now for the people in the area where you live now?
Oh, that's extreme excitement. And I'm so glad Mississippi State stepped out there and John Cohen and went and hired Leach after Ole Miss hired Kiffin, because I just think it's great for the league. I think it's going to be great for the fans. Now Leach is not a guy that's going to sit there and pick at Kiffin. They're actually friends. But he'll put up some numbers that I think Mississippi State fans will be excited about. And it is a rivalry. We live in our own world there in Florida. We think Florida State or Florida, Georgia, and Ole Miss State is a huge deal. Yeah. You gotta have one side or the other, and obviously you know what side I'm on. I'm on the side that'll give me a job. How about that? But no, I think it's going to be great for the league. I think it's going to be great for the fans here. And I talked to a guy yesterday. He's an old a Mississippi State guy, and I said, Larry Fedora told me a long time ago, every person has a number. I said, how much would it take for you to go be an Ole Miss fan? $1 million to me? And he goes, over my dead body. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, we got a taste of that with our children going to school there, and the Egg Bowl and the Gridiron Club, everything. It's so interesting to me, the Grove, the Junction. I can't wait for this season.
Well, I hope we have a season, Coach.
No doubt. Oh, last thing, Brady, this is what I want to ask you before we let you go. How is it right now with what's going on with the coronavirus? How is it for a college football coach dealing with your kids?
Well, what we're doing is, and we do this because we don't have the resources that maybe a Florida and Alabama, although I'm sure those guys are doing it because they're probably bored to tears, is we're online actively looking at their kids' classes because everything's moved online. So I'll spend the morning and the afternoon around watching film, and we're doing some self-scout stuff of just following their academics. Hey, man, you got a 25-point quiz due today at noon. You got to get it done. And, and you got to stay on top of that kind of stuff with the academics. We're trying to tell the guys to stay active with some home workouts from our strength coach. And then for us as coaches, we're just, we're communicating the best we can. But really, I'm watching a lot of tape on recruits. So, Shane, you got any players? Send them up to me. Let me evaluate them and see if we can get them in the system.
All right. Yeah, I was telling Corn Dog, I did the Gator workout with Luke at home yesterday, and I'm extremely sore today.
I bet you are.
All right, Brady.
Does Coach Savage yell at you on that or whatever? Does he get after him? Does he give him a verbal?
No, it's interesting though. They send them the workout, and you click on whatever it says, like body weight lunges or whatever.
Right.
Something simple, and you click on it, and it has one of their strength guys demonstrating the exercise. Yeah. So it's all body weight because a lot of kids don't have weights at home or what have you. But
no doubt.
I'll tell you this, it wore me out, and I'm extremely sore today. So, but Brady, we appreciate you joining the program.
Thanks,
guys. Take care of it. Good luck to the Tigers.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'll see y'all real soon.
Thanks, Brady.
Brady Ackerman joined us on the Titan MRI hotline.
I love Brady. I'm so proud of him for getting up there and being a coach, doing what he wants to do. That's great.
Yep. He's always wanted to get back into coaching, and it's not easy. Coaching is hard, as we all know. I mean, well, I know how hard it is. It's a lot of pressure on you, no matter if you're coaching at Florida or Jackson State or Mississippi Valley, wherever it is. You got to win. You got to produce, and they're enjoying it. And
but there's a teaching aspect that I think you mentioned teachers earlier in the show, and there's a teaching aspect to it that I think attracts a lot of people to it as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, JC, we survived another day.
We did.
And, today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. Tomorrow's show, we'll have Brent Beard talking college football. He's got a lot of good nuggets for us, what's going on in the college football world. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Coronavirus, day 2. Thanks, QB.